Tell me, what about your experience convinces you that you are a temporary, limited entity? Which part? Serious question. Is it the fact you can't read people's minds? Is it the fact that you can't teleport? Is it the fact that you can't do things that you want to do? Which part of your immediate experience, not your experience from yesterday or what it could be tomorrow, the experience that you're actually in right now, which part of it makes you convinced you're limited? What you'll actually find, I feel like I'm at a bar talking to you. Howdy. Come here often? You can't see what I see, but I'm on a standing table. That's why it's doing that. What you'll find is if you explore your limitations, you will never come into contact with an actual limitation of what you are. You'll always find a limitation of the body. You'll find a limitation of your mind. And therefore, you will always find limitations of things you can do. Because on the level of the body, you are limited. Because your body is a limitation. It's the purpose of having a body and a mind is to be limited. Just like the purpose of a book is to limit our imagination to just one particular story so that we can experience the story. When you inquire, just genuinely, just playfully, what am I limited for? What actually limits me? Okay, the things I do or the things I can experience. But yeah, is that really a limitation? Is it a limitation to not be able to do things? I mean, that's a very limited limitation, very small limitation. Because if you just want the freedom to do things, go be a billionaire. Go make billions. Why are you wasting time in spiritual stuff? Go make billions doing some type of project, AI project. Go rob a bank. If you want the ability to do anything, go do things that make you do things. The spiritual path is not here for that. It's not here to make you do things. It's here to give you freedom, or to help you recognize freedom that transcends experience itself. So when you're on this path, it's quite literally very simple. You're already free. You're already infinite. So therefore you cannot find an infinite thing. So whatever you try to look for outside of yourself, or even inside of yourself, will always be an object. And that object will always take place to some varying degree within something that doesn't start and stop or end. So the thing itself will always start and stop, but that which experiences it does not start and end. And it always takes place inside that. Experience always takes place in the one that experiences it, whether that's a thought or a feeling. So the question is, if you have a genuine limitation, you should have a start or an end. You should have this part of you which turns off and doesn't come back on. And you must be able to experience that. But here's the thing. When we do this inquiry, you can't do it while imagining a future and imagining a past. Because if you were limited, you must be limited now. Because you could argue, well, I was born. My parents were there. They seen me born. No, they seen the body be born. That's very different to you being born. And you could say, well, I'm going to die one day. Everybody dies. Yes, the body might die one day. But the question isn't, do bodies die? Are bodies born? That's not our questions. The question is, right now in this experience, which is the only valid place to explore, right? Because the only experience we can have and the only place from which we could experience, do you have a limitation now, in this moment? That's the key question. Are you limited now? Not will I die or will I not die or was I born? These are conceptual questions. Let's just say that the fact that you could die, because bodies die, that shouldn't be the place you get your proof or evidence of whether you're limited. Because if it's true that you're limited because of those facts, then it means you should be able to find that limitation now. So if it's true that you're limited, by the way, when I say limited, that you have some kind of objective limitation where you are contained by a greater reality and therefore you will die eventually and you will disappear forever and you'll never come back again. You are like a light and it turns off and you just never come back. If that is true for you, then you must be able to experience that limitation now by virtue of the fact that you can experience yourself. So if you can experience yourself, you must be present. If you are present, you must be able to experience yourself. If you can experience yourself, just ask yourself the question, am I limited? What limitations do I have? Now, this might stunt you a little bit, because you might go, well, whenever I find limitations, there are always limitations of my body and mind. So then the question begs, well, are you the body and the mind? Is there any evidence to suggest that you're the body and the mind? What would that evidence be? You might say, well, I can't seem to leave the body and the mind. But then the question is, are you something that could leave a body and the mind? Because if you were infinite, right, technically there would only be one infinite thing if there is something infinite, and that thing therefore would have to be what you are. So that would make everything infinite, because it would all have to be made of the same infinite substance. Otherwise the thing wouldn't be infinite, because it would be limited by something finite. And if it can be limited by something finite, then it isn't infinite, right? It's so funny how simple the logic is, but when you're learning that, it didn't seem so simple for me at the time. But it is very simple, and it's our mental complexities that complicate it. So it's as simple as just seeing, well, if there is something infinite, we can be hypothetical at this stage. If there is something infinite, everything must be infinite. So then the question is, if something is infinite, what would it mean? Well, it would mean that something must have to exist, something must have to be, right? You must have to know it exists, and it must have to be true. So it has to be something that doesn't borrow its existence from something else. So it has to stand alone no matter what. And therefore it has to be real, because that's what something real would be. And what we find is that if we find an existing reality that is real, that is true, well, that's what reality is. That's what reality is. Reality would be the source of all things, which is what God is. Instead of looking for something infinite, you can find something infinite by looking for something that doesn't have limited qualities. So instead of looking for the infinite, you just look for the finite. It's actually so much easier. And this is actually what the Neti Neti process is. When they say, I'm not this, I'm not that. What the Neti Neti process really is just looking at every possible form of limitation that you can find and realizing it's not a limitation of yourself. That's the wisdom of the Neti Neti process. So you don't just look at things literally and go, I'm not this and I'm not that. You can. That was actually the first thing that I did. And that was an awakening for me and a deepening for me, because I realized I didn't know what I was. When I realized I just had this clarity, anything I experience, it's not me. It's not what I am. Nothing here limits me, but I still didn't know what I was. But at that stage, you're kind of cooked in a good way. The good type of cooked. You're baked. And you're nice hot out of the oven. And you're in a really good place, because despite not knowing what you are, not knowing is as good as knowing. So if you don't know what you are, you basically are what you are. This is the interesting paradox on this path. So if you come to this realization right now that you're not anything in your experience, because how could you be? Everything in your experience is temporary. If you're not temporary, if you don't notice yourself disappearing and blinking in and out of existence all the time, but you notice everything else is, then what you are must be something that is observing that, right? Something outside that. Outside, we're being provisional here. Witnessing, again, we're being provisional here. We are witnessing on one level, but on an ultimate level, even the witness dissolves. But for the level we're speaking of right now, it's clear, surely it's clear to you right now that there's no possible limitation of you if you see that there's nothing that can contain you or your experience, because everything you do experience is contained inside experience. So if that's clear, then it's really, really healthy to come to the realization that you don't know what you are. Oh, it's such a good place to be. Just to not know. And from that not knowing, I can guarantee you, if you stay there, life is going to cook you up a lovely cake. Why am I talking about cake analogies? It's going to do... Life will bring you exactly what you need to see and what you need to hear. Why? Because you're actually open now. And the reason for that is because if you don't know what you are, you also don't know that you're finite. You also have clarity that you can't find a limitation. So you're kind of in this equilibrium where you are in the absence of knowledge. And in that absence of knowledge, you receive wisdom. Wisdom can only come in the absence of knowledge. Wisdom only comes in the absence of control, in pure, playful curiosity. So the essence of this video is to embody the attitude that I'm sharing. You're just asking genuine questions out of curiosity and playfulness. You don't need to name things. You don't need to be that specific. I mean, actually, you kind of do in a way. But only with what you notice, not in what you say, just in your noticing. And what you find is that eventually, if you keep questioning your limitations, are they a limitation of me? No, it's a limitation of my body. It's a limitation of my mind. Yes, my thoughts can't read other people's minds. But what if I am infinite, then technically my consciousness shares everyone, and technically I am reading everyone's mind because it is also the same consciousness in the other mind. But if we were to experience them both at the same time, we would lose the integrity of experience. Because why would we just be able to experience one other mind? It would have to be either all minds at once or only one at once, so to speak. You see, you can't just have we'll just experience a shared mind or experience with just a couple of other minds. You have to be everyone or no one, or just one, So keep questioning, never stop questioning, never stop asking questions, and be curious. Don't let your mind... If your mind asks 1,000 thoughts, ask 1,001, Don't be scared to think. People are so afraid to think on this path. Why? Do you realize thought is your first technology? Do you think you can think thought? Do you think thinking thoughts is some kind of mistake? Do you think God just went, oopsie, thunk a thought, damn it, now I can't stop thinking them? God's just absolutely lost his mind. Created his mind. God's not dumb. Thoughts aren't problems. If you want to learn how to master your intellect, master your intuition, and say intuition because all wisdom is an intuitive expression of creative freedom, join my free community. We'll have some more updates soon, and we do free calls every week. Love to see you there. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care.